My mother-in-law thinks I cheated on my husband because we are having a girl, then lays hands on me at 8 months pregnant. There has not been a girl born on my husband's side of the family in more than 100 years. There's a huge running joke that the men in his family cannot produce female babies. Fast forward to our wedding night, where my mother-in-law looks me dead in the eye and says, "Now go make us our son. Don't you dare let us down." I nervously laughed and we departed. Over our honeymoon we got pregnant, with a baby girl. Everyone was so shocked when we announced it was a girl, and most of the family denied it up until the moment she was born. That's when the horrible comments started. Whenever my husband isn't around, mother-in-law and her family members will make snarky comments like, "I wonder where she got that nose. It's definitely not the husband's." Well, as it would happen, we are now expecting our second baby, and yep, it is another girl. I begged my husband not to tell the mother-in-law the gender when we found out, as I just wanted to enjoy a bit more of this pregnancy before she ruined it. I had decided to keep the mean comments his mother made to me about our first daughter to myself, as she's old and in poor health, and I felt guilty about potentially ruining their relationship when she probably doesn't have many years left to be around. Regardless, he insists on announcing it at our next visit, and we do exactly that. As soon as she heard it was another girl, tears welled in her eyes and she started shaking her head back and forth and sobbing. She then started yelling at me, called me a cheater, and demanded I get out of her house. The husband immediately stands up and starts yelling at her, asking what her problem is, and that she needs to apologize to me and watch her mouth in front of her grandkids. She says through broken wails, "Not ours, not ours. Those girls are not ours. She's a cheater, a cheater. My son did not make those girls." I start crying hysterically and pick up my daughter, who is utterly confused as to why daddy is yelling at grandma and mommy is now crying. Mother-in-law then looks at me and starts yelling, "I let you get away with it the first time. I took you in his family. I allowed my son to believe he fathered that stupid girl, but I will not allow it again." Husband is now heated. He gets extremely mad and starts screaming at her that she is out of line and how dare she call his daughter names. He then goes on to say that we are leaving, and until she comes to her senses, she will never see any of us again. She tried to say something more, but he cuts her off and yells at her, "By the way, Mom, I love that little girl more than I ever loved you." As he is shuttling us out the door, I cried and broke down and told husband all the little comments she and her family have said to me when he's not around while we drive the 2 hours home. We went no contact for a few months and everything seemed to be going great. Then when I was nearing my due date, we decided to be the bigger person and reach out to her and offer her a chance to make things right. She whined and whines that she misses husband and granddaughter. We agreed to meet for dinner at their house after a few weeks for a proper talk and apology from her. We arrive, dinner is served and we are trying to make small talk when husband says, "Yeah, Mom, this has all been nice, but we need to talk about what happened and the things you said last time we were here." "I know, and you know that you owe my wife an apology." Mother-in-law then looks at husband and says, "Yes, do you have the paternity test?" "I am not apologizing until I'm proven wrong, and we both know I'm right. You cannot be the father, and the fact that you have now apparently made 2 girls is ridiculous." "Husband, what the F is wrong with you?" I start to cry and go to get up to grab my things and go to the car. Mother-in-law, "Oh no you don't." She shoots up, rounds the table and grabs my shirt, then proceeds to scream at me, "How dare you try to run away from this? You're a cheater and you need to own up to this problem." Husband screams at her to get her hands off of me, and starts to make his way towards us. She then decides that I cannot be allowed to leave at any cost with her son. She slaps me across my face. Husband then gets in between me and his mom and starts to scream at her. Husband is furious and I'm crying hysterically. He grabs my hand and we are making our way to the door when mother-in-law grabs a snow globe from a shelf and throws it directly at me. It connects me in the back of my head. I fell to my knees from the pain, and before husband can put together what just happened, she is grabbing anything she can find to throw in my direction. I'm on my knees on the ground holding my head with one hand and my belly with the other. Husband is screaming at the top of his lungs for her to stop, and she proceeds to try to get close enough to kick me. Thankfully, she is old and in bad health, so she loses momentum quickly, and as a last resort husband pushes his mom and she falls back into a shelf by the front door and he rushes me out. He drives me to the hospital and I end up getting 6 stitches in my head and being monitored in hospital for 4 days. The baby ended up being fine, and the hospital demanded we file a police report. We find out that when husband pushed his mom into the shelf, she ended up breaking 2 fingers and is claiming the excessive force hurt her neck very badly. Cops showed up and took our side of the story and compared our own report that we filed once at the hospital. They told us that mother-in-law is demanding to press charges against husband for assault, while we are pressing charges against her. So then my husband gets arrested but then quickly released after father-in-law is forced to tell the truth, and mother-in-law then gets arrested. Father-in-law is now begging us to drop the charges as no one was hurt and that we are being cruel to lock up an elderly woman. We are currently at home waiting for baby number 2 to arrive. I am on a strict bed rest order and husband has taken the week off of work to help pamper me and take care of our first daughter. I asked husband if once baby number 2 arrives, we get paternity tests for both girls to send to his mom in jail. As a huge FU, he thinks it's a hilarious idea and thinks we should also make copies and send them to all the relatives who were entertaining his mom's craziness, along with a written letter saying goodbye, that none of them will ever see us or his daughters again, and that he hopes they're all happy knowing that they've ruined any chance they had to have a relationship with him, or our children ever again.